A mother is supposed to be the one person in this world who would protect you, especially when you are at your most vulnerable. But what if that trust is a lie? What if the same person who gave you life decides to take yours, violently, deliberately, and with a plan? Prosecutors would later allege that 22-year-old Rebecca Park, just days away from giving birth, was lured to her own mother's home where she was stabbed, tortured, and her unborn baby was cut from her womb while she was still alive. This is the story of that unimaginable betrayal. Rebecca Park was a 22-year-old woman from Michigan who was excitedly awaiting the birth of her third child, a boy she planned to name Richard Scott Lee. She was 38 weeks pregnant, due in just a matter of days. But Rebecca's life was complicated. She had struggled with her mental health, had spent time in foster care, and her two older sons were already in the care of her adoptive mother, Stephanie Park. Just a few years earlier, in 2021, Rebecca had reconnected with her biological mother, Courtney Bartholomew. On the night of November 3rd, Rebecca went to visit Courtney and her stepfather, Bradley Bartholomew, at their home in Boone Township. She had about $2,000 in inheritance money with her. It was the last time anyone would see her alive. The next day, Rebecca's cell phone was found abandoned on a dirt road not far from her mother's house. A pregnant woman, just days from her due date, doesn't just toss her phone and wander off. The search began immediately, a massive effort involving the Sheriff's Department, State Police, and the FBI. But as the official search was underway, Rebecca's parents were telling a very different story. Courtney Bartholomew's account of what happened that night was wildly inconsistent. She told some people that Rebecca had left in a mystery car, but the description of the car and the timeline changed every time she told it. She was creating a smokescreen of lies. For 22 agonizing days, the search continued. Finally, on November 25th, a group of citizens found Rebecca's body in the Manistee National Forest. The autopsy confirmed the absolute worst. It was Rebecca. She had been stabbed to death, and her abdomen had been sliced open. Her baby, Richard Scott Lee, was gone. The investigation now moved at lightning speed, but the first arrests were a surprise. It wasn't the parents. Police first arrested Rebecca's 43-year-old fiancé, Richard Lee Fowler, on drug charges. Fowler was a registered sex offender with a long criminal history. Then, they arrested Rebecca's 21-year-old sister, Kimberly Park, for lying to police and tampering with evidence. It was a classic police tactic: apply pressure to the people on the fringes of the crime, get them off the board, and see what they know before moving on the main suspects. 5 days later, on November 30th, they made their move. Courtney and Bradley Bartholomew were arrested and hit with a staggering list of charges: first-degree premeditated murder, felony murder, torture, conspiracy to commit torture, and assault on a pregnant individual intentionally causing a miscarriage.
It is alleged in count number 1 that you committed the offense of homicide, murder in the first degree, premeditated. In count number 2, it is alleged that you committed the offense of homicide, felony murder. In count number 3, it is alleged that you committed the offense of torture. In count number 4, it is alleged that you committed the offense of conspiracy to commit torture. In count number 5, it's alleged that you committed the offense of assault, pregnant individual, intentionally causing miscarriages, stillbirth. In count number 6, it is alleged that you committed the offense of conspiracy to commit assault, pregnant individual, intentionally causing miscarriage or stillbirth. In count number 7, it is alleged that you committed the offense of unlawful imprisonment. In count number 8, it is alleged that you committed the offense of dead bodies removing without medical examiner permission. Additionally, the prosecution has elected to charge you as a habitual fourth offender, which means that you have at least 3 prior, either attempted or completed felonies in your past. The court does find, based on what's been presented to it today, the probable cause affidavit I've read and the various search warrants I've read, the defendant is both a flight risk and a threat to the community. Therefore, she will be held without bond. I am going to order.
Your Honor, I have a
No. This is the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Courtney Marie Bartholomew. It is alleged in count number 1 that you committed the offense of homicide, murder in the first degree, premeditated. In count number 2, it is alleged that you committed the offense of homicide, felony murder. In count number 3, it is alleged that you committed the offense of torture. In count number 4, it is alleged that you committed the offense of conspiracy to commit torture with Bradley Bartholomew. In count number 5, it is alleged that you committed the offense of assault, pregnant individual, intentionally causing miscarriage or stillborn. In count number 6, it is alleged that you committed the offense of conspiracy to commit assault, pregnant individual, intentionally causing miscarriage, stillbirth. In count number 7, it is alleged that you committed the offense of unlawful imprisonment. Count number 8, it is alleged that you committed the offense of dead bodies removing without medical examiner permission.
The prosecutor, Johanna Carey, didn't hold back in court. She laid out a bone-chilling theory of the crime. She said this was not an argument that got out of hand. This was a planned operation. She told the judge that Courtney and Bradley had conducted research and created a plan. A prosecutor doesn't use those words unless they believe they have evidence, like search histories or text messages, to back it up. She alleged that they lured Rebecca to their home, forced her into a vehicle, took her to the woods, and then stabbed her while they cut her baby out of her womb.
8 driving the license suspended, and 10 driving the license suspended second, 10 driving the license suspended, and 11 an attempted CSC 3, 11 larceny, 1,000 to 20,000. Also in 11 there's an attempted larceny in a building, joyride, driving the license suspended, and another driving the license suspended. In 14, there was a fail to comply with SORA requirements. 17, failed to comply with SORA requirements as a second. In 21, operating without a license. 24, failed to comply with SORA. In 97, there was a set-aside for receiving and concealing $100 or less, not shown in his CCH, but on the local record. There is an NSF check over $100 from, I believe that's 2000. The driving license suspended in 2000. 05, there was a driving license suspended. 06, driving the license suspended. 11, driving the license suspended. And 21, failed to display the license. I have reviewed the praxis. The praxis scores him at a risk level 4. Any comment regarding bond, Mr. Martel?
Yes, Your Honor. We, of course, respect these are extremely serious allegations. Without disputing the fact that this defendant does have a prior criminal history, obviously, even though some of those prior criminal histories are also very serious, I would ask the court to note none of those were for these type of allegations. I have represented this defendant in the past, and what I would say is, to my recollection, he's always stayed in contact with the defender's office. He's always been to court when we asked him to be to court, if I recall correctly. I don't believe there ever being any flight risk concerns. He does have strong ties to the community. The address that I have, and I won't say it on the record, but it is the one that he's given us before, and I don't doubt he'd continue to have strong ties to the community. I know he is extremely low income, so I would ask the court to factor that in when setting a bond. I do realize there will almost certainly be a monetary bond if I ask the court to factor that in. I also ask the court to consider non-monetary bond conditions for public safety when deciding if it can be on the lower end of that. I don't doubt he would comply, as he's always complied, with all bond conditions. Perhaps no contact with alleged co-conspirators, GPS tether, house arrest, things of that nature. But again, I just ask the court to factor in everything that's been said so far today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carey.
Thank you. The people are going to ask the court to deny bond in this matter. Under MCR 6.106B1, the court may deny pretrial release to a defendant charged with murder. He is charged with first-degree premeditated murder and felony murder, along with several other heinous crimes. In this case, we have two individuals that created a plan. They conducted research. They brought Rebecca Park to their home. They forced her into a vehicle and took her into the woods, where they stabbed her, forced her to lie on the ground while they cut her baby out of her, ultimately causing her death and the death of the baby. This is as heinous and as awful a case as it could be. And I don't believe there are any circumstances in which Mr. Bartholomew should be granted any bond. Thank you.
Thank you. The court does find, based on the probable cause affidavits that I have read, the search warrants that I have read, and what's been presented to the court today, that Mr. Bartholomew does present his hopes of a threat and a flight risk to the community. As such, she will be held without bond. Thank you, Misaki.
No problem.
The question was, why? Two horrifying motives emerged. The first was about the baby. According to Brad's own sister, the couple desperately wanted a child but couldn't have one. And in a deeply disturbing twist, it was discovered that just before Rebecca vanished, her mother, Courtney, had been posting on Facebook claiming she had a baby in the NICU. She was creating a cover story for a baby she was planning to acquire. The second theory was simpler, the $2,000. Maybe Rebecca refused to give them the money and the violence exploded from there. Or maybe the plan all along was to rob her and take the baby, seeing Rebecca not as a daughter, but as a source of cash and an infant. And then there's the biggest, most heartbreaking question of all. Where is baby Richard? To this day, his body has never been found. Investigators believe his remains were deliberately concealed or destroyed as part of the premeditated plan. As the case moves forward, all eyes are on one person, Rebecca's sister, Kimberly Park. She was arrested for lying to police and tampering with evidence. Her mother and stepfather are facing life in prison. The pressure on her to cooperate, to tell the police everything she knows in exchange for a lighter sentence, is immense. She might be the only person who can fill in the final, awful blanks of this story, and finally reveal the location of her nephew, baby Richard Scott Lee. Thank you for joining me for this incredibly difficult and heartbreaking story. The case is ongoing and the search for answers for Rebecca and her baby continues. If this story has brought up anything for you, please consider subscribing to my channel, Truly Chilling. We are very close to reaching 500 subscribers. And as always, I will see you in the next one.